Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are here for another one of your questions about work. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Roy. I'm a startup investor in the future of work. You got one of my partners, James, pacing around behind me, might be doing some investing stuff. I don't know. And we love being with the founders with whom we work. And so today we've got Dylan, who's one of the co-founders of Baton. And Baton has a special role to play because Baton's customers are small business owners who are trying themselves to make sure they get rewarded for the hard work they've put into building a business. And so the question we have today, which I think feel like your customers face much more than the typical working person does, is how do I build trust with those who I want to serve? How do I build trust with customers? And so Dylan, really grateful for any and all points of view.
Awesome. Yeah, great to be here and to share a stage with you and so many other amazing guests. So happy to be here. Thanks. It's interesting because for us, this is a question that we're asking a lot. Is like, how do we build trust in a real relationship? But if you take that out of piece, like you would never go into a relationship, whether it's with somebody at work or a partner or a friend, and be like, how do I build trust with this
Good
person?
point. Right. I mean,
It-
it's not like a question human beings actually ask each other.
right, right. And that's not how trust is built. Uh,
Yeah.
so the way we think about this is like, we're not building trust for trust's sake. It's like we want to show up for these people in our community and be there for them. And what does that look like? And how do we meet them where they're at? Uh,
Oh, I love that.
and I think, you know, I was my last company, Good Uncle. This was really important. It was a food delivery company, and people wanted to see behind the scenes and trust where the food was coming from. But at Baton, where we're focused on the small business owner, it gets way more important and way more top of mind. These folks have, and it makes sense. Like they're skeptical of outsiders. They might have been taken advantage of by somebody who, came in and gave them a bad loan or an unreliable supplier, and they built their whole livelihood and business kind of around this community.
Well, it is ironic, I think, also for many new businesses, not just small businesses, that, as a consumer, we have lots of ways to validate a product. I can check out reviews on Amazon. I could do all this stuff. As a big business, you have a big enough contract that you can often get access to obviously quality partners. But if I'm a small business, I'm sort of neither betwixt or between. It's like, what, a better business bureau? I mean, sure, it's better to have that than not have it, but it does seem like there's a Wild West a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. All you have is your reputation in these like small business meetup groups.
Yeah.
Um,
So how does one crack that?
yeah. I think, and because we're centering it, and Jamie, who's one of my brilliant co-founders, said this a while ago, was like, if this company didn't work, it would be because we didn't build trust with this group and we didn't build connections. So it's really centered for us. And they're kind of like 5 ways that we analyze this. And I'll jump into it.
Yeah, please.
The first one is thinking about team. And do we have the right team to serve the customers in the way that they expect to be served? Jamie and I both have personal experiences with acquisitions and with small businesses and working with them firsthand. But it was why we were so excited to bring on Chat as a co-founder, because of his deep experience building powerful marketplaces at Zillow, and Alex, who's our head of engineering, building Reonomy. And he used to lead engineering there. And that's a real estate data platform. And really understood kind of like what it meant to hold on to this secure data from business owners, because
So meaning having a team that understands that trust is important.
for sure, not only that they understand that trust is important, but that business owners will trust them and the customers will trust them
Oh,
to
so
do the
picking a
job.
team that is inherently trustworthy, given, I guess what I'm hearing there is both qualifications and their style, that customers will trust them.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool.
and kind
That
of
makes sense.
in the way that they expect. Um, yeah, then we have other amazing team members and could
Yeah.
shout them all out. And then the second piece is kind of product and design. Um, and we're asking owners again for really sensitive information. And anytime you're asking a customer for something, it's like it shouldn't be taken as a small thing.
Yeah.
So bringing them through an experience that kind of aligns with their expectations. And if we're asking you to connect financials, we don't want to send you to a page that doesn't feel good and feels insecure. Uh, I bought some I bonds the other day on the treasury site, and I had to look three different times. It's like, is this a scam? So building a product and focusing on design really was important to us as well. That's number 2.
What else? All
Product
right, keep
design.
going.
Third is business model that we think about. So how do we build a business model that kind of aligns with what our customers expect?
So what does that mean? Yeah, like how does one build an untrustworthy business model?
Yeah, I think it's like the companies that make money on hidden fees, on selling data, and kind of like these things. I think we've almost come to expect. Um, but for us, it was like, how do we enable growth and align with what their they've customers have experienced in other places? So we think about this as like what our customers kind of already paying for, and how can we build efficiencies to help them move through that process faster and understand, what steps do they need to take to accomplish their goal, which in our case is building a more valuable business and capturing that value.
I love that. I love that. What
That's
else you
number
got?
three.
Yeah.
And then fourth is customer acquisition. And with a growth background, I love this one. But it's like, how do you introduce yourself to the customer? Um, and what does that look like? Because like Google Ads will only go so far. But what we found, recently a lot of success, and I think there are a bunch of different things that we're working on. Um, but what we've found a lot of success is showing up in their community. So going to the business association that they're a part of, and going to the small business meetup. I was at one in North Jersey and working with some owners after, and people have actually like broken down. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, what I hear you saying is showing up in the venues they already trust. So as opposed to like Google Ads, which is like, well, I know Google Ads can be fine, but they could also be scam artists.
Totally,
You're showing up in a venue that they've already built some relationships with people around.
totally. And
Sorry, you were saying that somebody broke down.
and cried to me while we're going over this idea of getting a valuation and exiting your business, because it is such a personal thing. But that one interaction has led to a lot of customer acquisition for us overall, and has built powerful relationships.
I think there's something in that I hear too, which is there's something about being real in, sometimes when you're working on a startup, you're making something that if it works is too good to be true.
Yep.
Like Google, before Google is too good to be true, what Google is today. And part of the way I think that you deliver authenticity in those relationships is just by knowing accurately. It's like, yeah, you can get this other thing here, and it's good because, like, the companies that are dismissive of all their
Mm.
competitors, it's fine to be dismissive of your competitors. What's not fine is to be wrong. And
Yeah.
they say things that are like, well, nobody ever before is blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I got these three other things. And I feel the same way, by the way, as an investor building trust with my customers. If it's like, if I tell them that no other VC firm can do what we can do, I mean, that's true, but under very limited circumstances.
Sure.
Most of the time it's like, well, it's a bit of a dating process and they got to figure out who they want to work with. But so keep going. So you got customer acquisition. What's the last one?
No, it's true. You are actually amazing at that, Roy. You're like kind
Well,
of
I have a
the
benefit of a very small number of customers.
sure.
So it's
Yeah.
easier because I can actually, no, and even then, I mean, look, the thing I was just going to say, and then we'll get to your fifth one in a second, is
Mhm.
we think about trust a lot. I wrote this blog post about a model for building trust, which I call the egg toss model, which is basically like, that kids game where you throw an egg back and forth. It's like you start with the little things of like, did I show up on time?
Yeah.
Did I give you the feedback I promised to give you when I would? And I don't know anybody who is untrustworthy on little things, but trustworthy on big
Big
things.
things.
And so you go back and forth. And by the way, there are people who like never answer any emails because they're just flaky. So I'm not talking about a style difference, but I'm talking about if you make a commitment, can you be relied upon to keep it? And there's a reason I'm in a business where I don't have millions of customers because I don't want to run that kind of process. Other people
Right.
can run that kind of process.
Yeah. And to the point before, I think it's really interesting is also being honest with yourself about where you are the best. Like we know we're the best at valuations because we have more data and these other
Yeah.
things. We have amazing consultants. But the valuation isn't as in depth as the thing that you pay $3,000 for. And that's why
Yeah,
it's
I
great.
think that's like that kind of honesty goes a long way. And I'll just say, the other thing about trust is some business things are reversible. If you lose money one month, you make more money the next month, you made up for it. Trust is one of these things that once you take a ding, it's not a knockout punch from which most people can ever get up.
For
And so
sure.
it's the kind of thing that you have to be careful about all the time in all your interactions because, and I have cases where we've broken trust by accident, but, when that happens, it's like, that's going to take 100 times as much work as the error was, not just, hey, I'm sorry. Yeah. Can we move on to the next one? You
Yeah.
know? Okay, but sorry, what's your fifth one?
Number 5 is brand and communication.
All
So
right.
the way I think of this is like we're doing all of these other things, and I believe we are building a company and a business that is trustworthy. And it's how do you put that message out there into the world, and how do you represent your community through your brand, through your marketing, through the messaging.
I
So
love it. Well, we
that's the
got
most.
all of those there. That's a super helpful, I think, framework for it because it just gives people a lot of sources of touch points. And I'm curious, just to understand a little bit, where you feel like as a new company, where like, okay, you focus on all those things, but if you have to think about one thing that keeps coming up as a place where you could build, or if you get it wrong, destroy trust, what is that thing or place?
Team is so important because team is driving all of those other pieces.
Yeah, it's
Um,
well put.
it's driving our business model, our product, definitely our customer acquisition and the brand.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's hard because, I think you bring a team member aboard and you never quite know at the beginning if they're going to represent you well. And so I believe in the egg toss model with a team member too, which is you don't put them in front of your customer at the front of the room on day one
for
just to
sure.
learn that they're a disaster. You kind of gradually, give them more room as they earn it.
For sure. And I think the other interesting thing there on team is that kind of like the first question I get asked a lot of times after I talk to a group are about my credentials if I didn't cover them. And it's interesting for me, especially because a lot of the times I'm half the age of the folks that we're talking to. So it's super important, and also not only to talk about my own credentials and my own experience with selling as we sold Good Uncle, and going through that acquisition process, but also the strength of the team and my
I
partners.
love that. I love that. You can borrow the credibility of your colleagues. And these are hard things. I mean, everybody shows up missing something that would provide trust. Because if you already had every ingredient, then you probably wouldn't be there selling in that circumstance. You'd have
Mhm.
evolved past that point. And so in your case, you're talking about the issue of age. Here we are two like white guys talking to each other. For other people, it may be that they feel
For
a
sure.
difference across gender or race or something like that. For some people, it may be a professional qualification that they're missing, and just being honest to that and trying to overcome it, I think is really powerful. So,
Totally.
all right, parting thoughts.
This was great, Roy.
Awesome. I
Thank you so
really
much.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And for folks who are here for the first time, the reason we say it's not advice is Dylan's telling you what works for him. You got to decide what works for you, for yourself. You can find past episodes and write-ups of them at our guide, which you can also edit at thisisnotadvice.work. If you prefer a short version, you can get audio once a week at Jam. We're proud investors, jam.ai. You can go find it there. And otherwise, as you go through the journey, Dylan, whatever else you want to share, we're here for it. So thank you.
Can't wait to come back. Thanks, Roy.